I know it has been several months since I've uploaded, but I'm back. A lot of craziness has been happening in life, and just when I started my YouTube channel, I kind of had to pull back from it. But here I am, and hopefully everything will start being a bit more regular now, or a lot more regular, let's say. So for today's WIP and Chat, just in case you happen to not know what WIP means, it means work in progress. So this is the perfect opportunity for me to keep you company while you pull out whatever you're working on, any current diamond painting or any other activity that you may be doing. I personally like to put them on when I'm like cleaning up my room or things like that, just to see, how the community is doing, what everybody's working on, what events are going on, etc., etc. Right now, I'm working on this. Hopefully it's in frame. I have renamed it myself because it's called Kitty Dots, but to me it looks like a lot of Easter eggs around the kitty, and it's Easter week, so I thought it was a perfect little kit to pick up while I was looking for something in Hobby Lobby. I saw it. It was about 10 bucks, I believe. Oh, sorry, $14.99. And I thought it was a nice snack size to do after I finished my last canvas. And I think that is something I'm going to do a bit more often. I'm going to try and go to Hobby Lobby or Michael's and pick up these smaller kits. This one is a 33 by 43. I've been working on it for a few days now. It is rather small, but it is going to take me, probably a week to finish it because life. I don't have all the time in the world to diamond paint, unfortunately, as we all would love to, but I have 2 little ones and just things to do with my life other than diamond paint, unfortunately. So today, this is what I'm going to be working on. You can't really see it. I have this section right here cut out. I did have a really pretty washi to go along with it, but unfortunately it just wouldn't stick. I'm not sure if it's the washi or this canvas. This is by Simply Dots, which is part of Diamond Dots. I was trying to figure out what their different lines are because I saw at least 3 different branded kits at Hobby Lobby, but I really couldn't figure out what the differences were between them. But nonetheless, here we are. I'm using a Craftably tray today, kind of going, that is funny. I guess I won't be using a Craftably tray. I'm not even sure what this goes to. I think this goes to the last canvas I did, but I don't know. That's funny. Actually, excuse me. I can use this because what I do like about this set is that on the lid you have grooves as well. So I'll just use that. That's funny. That's so funny. So yeah, I'm going to use that. I'm just going to use a simple pen that I have from Amazon. Right now I have loaded just the purple wax that came with this kit. This is like the fanciest I get with pens right now. I just can't bring myself to purchase the other turned pens right now. I'd rather purchase a kit than a pen. So these are the ones that I like using. I still actually use the ones that come with the kits as well. As long as I have a squishy on them, they don't bother me at all. So I'm just happy to use that one because I thought that was a cute little combo, the pink and the pink. And that's pretty much it when it comes to this kit. So let me just get my color out. What am I going to do? Let's work with this one. Excuse me. I don't know why, but I kind of woke up with a little bit of something going on with my throat. So please excuse that. I didn't want to delay because I've been delaying doing a WIP and Chat for quite some time, being that it's just hard when you have kids that are not in school yet. Because, I mean, I don't live in a mansion, so, and my kids are loud, as kids are. So, I thought a kid was trying to get in the room, but I think it's the cat. I am so sorry, guys. Let me take a sip of my coffee. Oh, yeah. What are you guys drinking today? I just have I don't know if you can see, I don't want to tilt it too much. Drinking in my England Starbucks cup some black coffee. Oh my gosh, I really hope these noises don't bother you because I am very sensitive to noises. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so I was delaying doing it because it's kind of hard to find the time to be able to do a WIP and Chat when the house is quiet. My kids, I'm working on it, but they are not ones to go to sleep early no matter what. It's going to be a struggle when it comes time for my son. He's going to be the first going to school. When he needs to go to school, we'll see how it goes because he just does not. I mean, we're all night birds. They get it from me. But I'm trying so hard to get them to want to go to sleep a little earlier. We have our whole routine down, and he's been actually pretty good about it. He still cries and whatnot when I tell him, okay, it's time to go to bed. But he does eventually fall asleep pretty fast. It's his sister. Oh my gosh. She will fight it to the end. I will sometimes fall asleep before she does because she just does not like going to sleep. And the funny thing is she doesn't really nap during the day. She's 2 years old, about 2.5. And sometimes she does, especially if we go out in the car, she might take a nap, but not like a true proper nap like most kids at that age do. She never was a great like routine napper. She didn't automatically start falling asleep at like noon or 1 o'clock. So she just is not a fan of sleeping. Well, that's not true because she does sleep in. She can sleep until about 10 or so. And lately I've been trying to wake her up early so that she would get tired. Hasn't really worked because even when I wake her up early, she still fakes it. But I must say last night she fell asleep before her brother. They were in the living room watching some TV and I was in my room doing something. I'm like, man, she's really quiet. Because usually she will watch a little bit of TV, but then she'll come looking for me like, what are you doing? Let's wreak some havoc. And so I checked the Ring camera in the living room and I was like, oh, she fell asleep. And then the other thing is just because she fell asleep doesn't mean she's going to stay asleep. Moving her into her room and having her stay asleep is a whole nother story. So I left her there for a while her brother was watching TV. Then I told him it was, soon time to turn it off. He started, hollering a bit. But, I just expected. He's only 4. He's going to be 5 soon. And they're kids. They don't want to stop doing what's fun. I get it. So I like to give him some warning as to how soon before he has to turn the TV off. So anyway, I did that. And being that he was kind of being a little bit loud, not, disruptive, but a little loud. I don't want to wake up. So I finally picked her up, took her to her bed. She did kind of like fuss a bit. So I just sat there for a minute, rocking her. And then she fell asleep and she stood asleep, which was the miracle. I came back to my room, I diamond painted a bit. I actually left my son over there watching TV longer than I really wanted to because I really wanted to make sure she was asleep before he went in there because they share a room. But anyway, I did not mean to go too deep into their whole sleeping routine, but yep. Basically my kids are owls and will stay up until the wee hours of the night if allowed. Oops, didn't even pick up a diamond with that one. So, if by chance you have listened to any of my other WIP and Chats back last year, you wouldn't have known I was in the middle of trying to move. And we did move. At the end of the day, we were able to move, but it was horrendous, the whole process. And I had just gone through the process like 2, maybe 3. Yeah, I think it was like 3 years prior. because we lived in one area, we had a big house, and we were just like, oh, we're ready to downsize. Let's, move to another area that was going to be more convenient for my work. Just all in all, the schools were better. It was just a better situation moving. So we found this amazing realtor who helped us with that whole situation. We moved, no problem. So it's 3 years later, and we realized, whoops, downsizing was not the best option. We actually want a house again. And on top of that, even if we didn't want a house, we just needed to get out of there because we were in a condo. And let me tell you, I would never, ever buy, if I could help it, a house or a condo, anything that has to do with an HOA. No, just it was a complete nightmare, which is a shame because I did like where we lived. It was really nice. It felt like kind of like a community, which you don't really get that in New York City. It was definitely like a little hidden gem within the city. And if it wasn't for the president, it would have been perfectly fine. But the president of the HOA was insane. He was just a nasty person who I say probably had no control over his personal life. So he sought out to become president so that he felt like he was somebody. That might seem a little mean, but that was exactly what it was. Because, our neighbors, our next door neighbors, they were technically like it's kind of hard to describe. They were, I guess, kind of like townhouses, and they were all together. And you had, in some buildings, just 3 condo apartments, and then other buildings you had 6, but they were on opposite sides of the building, so it still felt like you were only with 2 neighbors. We were in the middle, so one on top and one on the bottom. So although we were balcony neighbors, we were in separate buildings. So whenever we would speak to her, would usually be through the balcony because she had no reason to be in my building and I had no reason to be in hers. She's an older lady there with her husband. They had retired, been there for a couple of years before us. And she actually ended up moving because of this guy as well, which is horrible. Like, she was on the board with him and everything, and he just turned out to be insane, which is kind of like really sad because when you retire, you're in your 70s, you move into your nice little condo, you probably don't have it in mind that you're ever going to move again. And these poor people had to like pack up their house all by themselves and move. They actually ended up moving before us, even though we started the process before them because it was just that miserable, the whole process for us, unfortunately. But basically, he was not even supposed to be president. Somebody else was voted to be president, and she told us that he basically cried and whined and manipulated his way into becoming president. The other person was like, well, if you want it that bad, no problem, here you go. Honestly, don't remember if he, yeah, okay, I think it's the vice president. The person who gave him the spot for president was then vice president, and he ended up leaving the board too. Basically, at the end of the day, everybody but 2 people, the president and somebody else, so I'm not even sure who this lady is, never met her, left the board because he's just that insane. And I don't even think that's legal to like run a board and make all these decisions with 2 people, because although it was technically 2 people, the other lady didn't do anything at all. Everything went through him. So he was basically the leader of his kingdom, I'm sure is how he felt. And when we wanted to move, he just made everything so impossible. I mean, the paperwork that we needed, the things that he would come up with, I would constantly be on the phone with the office saying, hey, we need this, we need that. We had everything up to date with our charges, and he just would constantly be like, oh, it's going to take 5 to 7 days to get this done. No, it's not. It's like one little thing. You can definitely do it. I see you outside doing absolutely nothing but walking around telling landscaping what to do. I've seen him get in arguments with people. I mean, I can just go on and on. He was just nasty, and he never once ever said anything to us. Never a hi, a hello. He would always, let me load up my pen again. He would always just stare at me as I walked in. I don't know if he thought I was scared of him. Definitely not. Like, I'm a very nice person. This story may not make it seem like it, but I am a very, very nice person. And if I'm gonna, if you're my neighbor and I'm walking by you, I'm gonna say hi. And he like just chuckled the first time, like, how dare I speak to him? And ever since then, he just like kind of stared me down whenever I would walk by him. And I just stared him back, like, no, you're not going to intimidate me. You're a whole grown man, and you're here trying to intimidate me. You're weird for that. So, yeah, we had a lot of run-ins with him. He was really rude to my dad one time. I've seen him rude to so many other people, and, don't mess with mine. Don't mess with my children. Don't mess with my parents. Don't mess with anybody that I love, because I'm going to defend them. But anyway, it was horrible. We would need all this paperwork. Our lawyers were like, oh, we need this, because we finally, got an offer accepted for a house, and they just would not provide the paperwork we needed. It was absolutely miserable. Like, my realtor would call them and say, hey, can we please have this? And they were like, no, we don't speak to anybody if it's not the lawyer or the owner of the condo. So they would only speak to me and the lawyer, but even my lawyer would contact them, and they would not answer her. They would not answer. It was insane. Even it was funny because even when we finally made it to closing, which was months after what was anticipated, so we were lucky, so lucky that our buyers didn't walk out on us. And when we were at the closing, our lawyer was like, oh my gosh, that was so horrible, such a bad situation with the condo people. And I'm thinking, can you not say that in front of the new buyers? Even though, they were aware of what was going on and the delays, because obviously they were part of the ordeal there. We didn't have to like express how much we hated them in front of them. They wouldn't just like walk out at that point, but still, they were like a young professional couple, and they're all excited. The last thing they probably wanted to hear was like how horrible the management is at their new home. But she was like, oh, they're so horrible, blah, blah, blah. And then she says, well, that's your problem now, and looks at the couple across the table. And they're like, oh my gosh, stop. And they just look at me kind of like, okay. So I'm really curious. I really hope it's going well for them. I can only hope that he's no longer there. We had meetings that the condo people just made up on their own. Like, hey, meet in the courtyard to talk about this, to see how we could get this guy out. Because it had been basically, I moved there the year before COVID. And that was essentially kind of the only year that I really truly lived there, because COVID came, and when COVID came, I guess we were there for several months, just locked up. And then once we were able to get our vaccines, we got our vaccines, and then traveled to Colorado to see my brother. We sit there for a while. Anyway, I'll explain that part later as to why we only spent probably a whole year and a half in that condo. And within that time, 3 years we were there, they were supposed to, have a voting as to who's going to be president. And he just was like, nope, we're not doing it because of COVID. And we were like, okay, we understand in the beginning of COVID, but at this point, it's very clear that we're able to meet up and have a voting session, but nope, it just never happened. I would doubt it still has happened. So he was, president all that time, even though nobody wanted him. He would not step down. He was invited to this meeting, and at this point, we were not there for this meeting, but my god brother actually, who's a lawyer, went, and he told us it was insane. Like, they invited him, he did not show up. He was there because, we could clearly see that his car was there whenever he's there. And I guess he was working from home. I don't know if he actually was working or not. Because he was always outside telling people what to do during COVID. And that's another funny thing. Like, it's COVID and they're sending all of these messages like, oh, you must wear a mask when you're, walking the grounds. Never in my life did I see this man wear a mask. Never. All of these rules that he loved to send, all of these complaints he would love to send via email or through the office, but in person, never had a word to say. So he was invited to this. Of course, he didn't show. They were talking about getting lawyers together to, try and get him out. It was a mess. I'm so glad I'm not there anymore. He just made life so miserable. So yeah, that was my whole little rant about him. Hopefully I didn't lose you there. So basically, to explain why we didn't really truly live there for 3 years, as in spend time there. The first year, we traveled a lot. My kids obviously still, to this day, they're not of school age, so I was able to travel a lot with them. I used to be a flight attendant, so I was always on the road for work, and then when I wasn't, I would take them places. So we were always traveling. And then COVID hit, so nobody was traveling. We were basically locked up in our condo, and COVID in the city was absolutely terrifying. There's so many people, and just to throw out the garbage, it was scary because you're like, I don't want to bump into somebody while I'm out there. Thankfully, where I was, it's a very quiet area. Surprisingly, like, a lot of people think the whole city is noisy, lots and lots and lots of people. There were obviously people, but not in the sense of, you're watching a movie of Manhattan, that kind of thing. It wasn't like that. But still, you didn't want to like bump into people when you're throwing out the garbage. Didn't want to. Nope. That's the problem about not having washi. I just try to put some down and it's covered. Let's see. Okay. Where was I? Yeah, so you don't, and then you go out and you're like, this is the height of COVID. So you're like, oh, I need to put some gloves on because what if somebody touched the gate to throw the garbage out? And, we don't know how long the contamination is staying on these surfaces. We were getting our groceries delivered when we could, because I was also pregnant at this time. Like, I had gotten pregnant right before we basically shut down as a country. I remember being in doctor's offices and seeing things going on outside of the country. So when things shut down, unless it was a doctor's appointment, I did not leave. I did not leave my apartment because I was not about to get COVID and give it to my little one or my unborn child. Like, it was terrifying. So we were basically, from the time that we shut down as a country, need more wax, to April or so. I had my baby in November, and then I believe it was April-ish, April, May, when the vaccines came out. Finally got vaccinated, and we were just like so cooped up. We were like, we can't stay here. And we hadn't seen my brother in a long time due to COVID. Like, we hadn't seen him for a bit before that. And then COVID hit and we really didn't see him for a while. Especially with like my flight benefits, we were able to get him to come visit every once in a while. But he just hadn't a little bit before COVID. And then once that hit, nobody was traveling. Oh, and then during that time with work, I definitely was able to take a leave because I was not about to fly pregnant with COVID. Because technically my job would have let me fly basically until I was ready to give birth, which I wasn't going to do anyway. I didn't do that with my son. I left at like 6 months. But with her, I left even earlier because no, we're not going to risk that. It took a lot for me to get pregnant with her, and I was going to stay pregnant and have a healthy pregnancy with her. But anyway, she was a couple of months old by this time. It was time for the vaccine rolling out. We all made our appointment. We all got our vaccines. We got our boosters. Well, not booster. We got, the first round and then the second round of the vaccine. And we got our plane tickets and we flew to Colorado. My one brother lives in Colorado. My other brother lives in Massachusetts. So my brother lives in Colorado. He has been there for several years now, probably more than 10. And we went to visit him and his girlfriend. And we knew we would stay there for quite a bit. We ended up staying probably until June. I think it was June, something like that. So from like April to June, which is really nice. Like his girlfriend was working from home at that point. I think he was still working outside. Was he? I don't remember. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was. But he was really careful. He wore his mask and everything. And we were vaccinated. Baby was fine while we were there. Like while we were there, we really didn't go out much. And the cool thing was at that point in time when we flew over there, they still had the middle seat open. So I took her as a lap child, and then we had the middle seat open. And then I can't remember who sat in. I was in the window, had her. I don't know. It was 5 of us or so. So we definitely had more than enough space. We felt safe. We did a direct flight because we also had to take the cat. We have a cat. We had to take her because obviously she can't be alone that long. So it was definitely an ordeal. About 5-6 month old, a cat, 5 people. We did a direct flight. There was no way I was comfortable, first of all, walking in more than one airport than necessary, and it was just a lot. It was a lot going on. So we did that direct flight, which was nice. Most of the time we don't get a direct flight from New York to Colorado for some reason, but I think we took Delta and we did that time, which was perfect, and it was really nice. Like, we hadn't seen them in so long, and we're super close to them. Like, some people are like, oh my God, I would never want somebody in my house for that long, which is understandable, but, obviously he's my brother, and then they have been together since they were 16 or so. Well, I thought I was missing one here. Don't see it. As soon as I put it back, I'll find it, but that's how that goes. And they're in their 30s now, my 30s. So basically, I grew up with her. I've known her since I was 13 and I'm 32. So we're very, very close. She was always at our house growing up and such. So, very close to them. And so they didn't have a problem with us being there for that long. We did, to give them some space and stuff, we did have our own separate trips. We drove up to Yellowstone. We spent some time in Wyoming. Yeah, so we would do little trips like that so that they also have their own time as well. We don't want to like bombard them like that. When it goes from 2 people to like 5 people in your house and 2 of them being small children, I'm sure at some point you want to break from it. I want to break from it, and I live with these people. So yeah, while we were over there, I actually ended up purchasing a car, which sounds insane, but my mom had to basically junk her car right before we came out here. Well, out to Colorado. So we needed a new car. I was, in the position to be able to do it. And I was like, that'd be really cool to get a car and then drive it back. My dad actually flew back before we left because he had to come take care of some stuff in New York, and then he flew to the Dominican Republic. To the Dominican Republic, which is, where he was born. So he went back home for a bit, which he does every year. He's actually there right now. He always goes back for a couple of months. So he did that. So that gave us all the time in the world to be able to do whatever we wanted, be adventurous. He will go along for the ride if, I tell him, hey, we're doing this. Well, all right. And there goes Jasmine again with her crazy ideas. But he's not one to like plan or initiate any of these things. So it was really like my mom is so down with it. Like in just about anything I say, she's like, yeah, sure. So we bought the car. We did those trips like Yellowstone, which is amazing. We didn't get to spend too much time there. So I would definitely like to go back. We saw some bison, we saw the hot springs, we saw, oh my gosh, we saw a moose, which was massive. Like, they're big, but when you see it in person, it's insane. Like, we were driving down this road and did I lose a diamond? There we go. And everybody was just stopped. And we are like, what's going on? And then we saw people outside the car and we are like, oh my God, everybody stop because there's a moose. And, photographers with their professional cameras. I have a picture. I'll have to see if I can like go back and find it and I'll insert it. It's obviously not as good as some of these professional photos. Plus, I was just trying to hurry up and get it before we passed by it. But it was so cool to see in person. Like, it was massive, insane. And to see the bison in person, we weren't super close to the bison as we were with the moose, but just seeing them running in the wild was insane. And then actually later on, in another part of Wyoming, we stopped somewhere where we were able to take like this train ride. They built this train on the farm and you're able to feed wild bison. It's like the only place I think in the world or in the US where you could feed wild bison. Insane, super cool. I'll see if I can insert some photos of that as well. So, yeah. Oh my gosh, I am rambling. Like, the whole point of telling you that story was why I haven't really lived there for 3 years. So basically we went on that road trip. We were gone for months. We left in April. We traveled, did a whole road trip back to New York. I can get into the details of that another day, but basically we did not come back until like September, October-ish. So then at that point, we were like, all right, we want to move, not only because this guy is absolutely miserable to deal with as our president, just for personal reasons too. Just wanted more space. We wanted to kind of get out of the city. We were just ready for that change. So we would spend days coming up here looking at houses. But mind you, this is when the market was terrible for buying a house. So houses were selling before we even had the time to drive up here. We are about 3 hours from where we used to live now. So, we couldn't just get in a car and say, yeah, I'm going to go see it later today. We would have to figure out, okay, when can we go see this? And by the time we figure it out and make it up here, it's like, oh, it's already under contract, which would be insane. So the way we got this house is we were up here looking at other houses, and we saw a lot of houses and we were just like, no, not what we wanted. A lot of it, like, okay, So the first realtor we had, she was not very good. I would tell her, this is what I'm looking for, and she'd keep telling us like, oh yeah, I got you, and then take us to houses we had no interest in. We were telling her we would like, basically a country house. We don't want to be in the city. We don't want to be very close to people. We want some land. At the time, I was thinking I might want some chickens. I wanted a big garden. I wanted to be able to, work on projects with my kids outside. Have them have, a dirt kitchen outside, a play area, their own garden, like all of the things. And she just kept showing us houses that were absolutely not it. Like the minute we drove in the neighborhood, we were like, no, this is not what we wanted. There's like 50 houses around us and we're way too close. We don't want that anymore. We just came from all that. And I don't know, like I don't want to make everything into a race thing, but she definitely did not give us the impression that she wasn't just a little bit racist, because I don't know, she just kept taking us to these neighborhoods where I'm like, I would never live here. Why are you showing this to us? Like there was this one house where she took us through this neighborhood, and the drive there, we're like, absolutely not. Look at all these people that, look like they're on drugs, and why? Like we hadn't even found this area on our own driving around up here. Why are you bringing us here? And then like eventually when we got to the house, it looked like a decent neighborhood, and the house was really nice actually. But still, it was like in a a suburban neighborhood, and that's not what we wanted. We wanted country. And we told her, we're like, yeah, no, no, because that would be our, area to go shopping. That would be, if you're on jury duty, you would have to go downtown to that area. And we just did not like it at all. And even she was like, yeah, I've never seen that part of town, whether that's true or not. Whether she brought us to one side when she meant to bring us through the prettier side, I'm just glad she showed it to us, because we just, no matter how nice the house was, really, no, that's not for us. And I don't know, I just kept telling her things. She just wasn't receptive to it. She was like, yeah, well, I'll see what I can do. And I'm like, I have everything you need. Like I have my pre-approval. I have all my paperwork. I don't understand why you're not working with me here. It was just really weird. Like we all got this sense of a bit of racism from her. It's hard, I'm not gonna get into specific details, but at first I was like, no, that's not it. And then after a while I'm like, okay, yeah, that may be it. Unfortunately, which seems to be a problem up here. Um, you know, it's a really sticky situation, because when you want to move out of the city, you kind of have to expect you're gonna, find that, unfortunately. And that's why we were very careful as to where upstate we were moving, because we know if you go too far west, you're just asking for trouble. I mean, yeah, there's just so much racism the further west you go, because it's, more secluded, less diversity. And not everybody is like that. I have a lot of, people in Western New York that I love, that are the furthest thing from race as possible, but there's enough of people who are, that make it so that I wouldn't want to raise my kids there. So we ended up leaving her. She just was not somebody we wanted to work with, not wanting to give her commission to. So I reached out to somebody else, and oh my gosh, when I tell you, she was amazing. She was amazing. And it's funny because she actually came from the city area. She's from Long Island, and she's been up here for several years now, and she knew exactly how to deal with us. Basically, she was amazing. Any questions I had, she actually answered them, instead of saying, oh, I don't know, you might want to do some research on it. Like the other lady, like, come on, this is your field, you should know this. And if not, you should probably try and find the answer. I'm very resourceful. I will Google things to no end, but sometimes I want a professional opinion. I want a professional to say, yeah, what you found was right, or something like that. Like, work with me, which the other lady just wasn't. And she was absolutely amazing, this new realtor. And I told her, what we were looking for. She showed us a few things, and I was like, okay. And then finally, she was understanding what we were looking for, and she's like, okay. So you really want to be out there? And I'm like, yes. So she's showed us a few things. She was always in contact with us. She was so good that she was like, oh, there's this really nice house, but I don't want you to come out up here just to view one house. So she did a virtual showing for us. She went on her own. She showed us everything. And I don't know, I just thought that was really, really nice because the other lady didn't even try to do something like that for us. Which is actually great that she did that, because we ended up not really caring for that house. So it was nice that we didn't have to waste 6 hours driving up and driving back. Where is my diamonds? There we go. So yeah, while we were up here one day, nothing that we saw I was really any of us were really feeling. Nothing felt right, nothing felt good. And then I was looking on the apps and I saw one house and I was like, oh my god, like the backyard sold me on it. And I was like, we have to see this house. And it was saying no showings until a certain date, and we were leaving that day. So I was like, hey, do you think you could maybe see if they're able to show it to us before we go back? So she did try, and they were like, no, absolutely not. We're not doing any showings until a specific date. And we're like, all right, totally understand. Like, we're just checking me that it was just listed and we're up here. So we went back to the city, and if I remember correctly, I didn't even did I bring the kids that time? Because we were coming back and forth so much, and it was too much for the kids to be in the car every other day to come see a house. So we scheduled an appointment. We were like one of the first people to see it. Fell in love with it. Absolutely loved it. It wasn't exactly what we were looking for, because ideally we were looking for a house that had like an in-law suite for my parents. But that was proven very difficult to find. And when we did, and we just, there was one in particular we really liked the house, because the whole downstairs was finished with a whole separate living area. And then the main house was 2 floors. It was really, really nice, but I'm kind of glad we were outbid on that one. I don't even think we put in a full bid, or did we? Yeah, we did, and we got outbid on it. I'm kind of glad it didn't work, because that was still in the suburban area of the city, and where we are now is very rural, which is what we wanted. So we came back, we saw the house, we fell in love with it, we put in our offer, and they were like, all right, it's a very strong offer, but we have other showings and we will let you know. So we're waiting. Finally Monday comes around, and they were like, we really like your offer, but we're not going with you. And that was devastating, because I'm telling you, it was a really long time that we were trying to find a house that works for us, and we didn't want to just like settle for a house. And it's really hard not to, because we need somewhere to live, and everybody was just like buying houses like crazy. It was so hard to not be like, oh fine, we'll just go with this one, because everybody's outbidding all the other houses we like. But we held out, and we were like, okay, yeah, we'll put our bid on this. And what we did, we were not accepted, and they were like, oh, but if for whatever reason something happens with the other buyers, then you're next in line. Lo and behold, not too long after, for some reason, don't even know why, because it was literally like a few days after, they couldn't have really gotten that far in the process, and it fell apart. So we were given the offer, and we were really happy about that. So no, there is no in-law suite. unfortunately. But we do plan to maybe build like a cottage out back or something like that eventually for my parents. Right now they're with us here in the house, which is totally fine. I love living with them, honestly. Like, I would never want to live far from them. My kids adore them. My grandparents, they adore their grandparents. They need them in their life like that. We would never be able to live, you know, far from them. And it just works for us right now. Where is my other diamonds? Here we go. So yeah, we're basically finally got what we wanted. We moved. We are in a pretty rural area. And the funny thing is we finally had met our neighbor, and he's this really nice gentleman. Come to find out, this used to be his house. I'm sorry, his daughter's house. And he did a lot of the work in this house. So whenever we have questions about something, especially we've, come from the city, we've never had wood stove and a pellet stove, and we have both of them in this house. And we had an issue with our pellet stove the other day. My dad wasn't here. And mom and I tried to figure it out. Could not. Did everything we could. It just wouldn't really turn on. So we gave him a shout, and he came over. He helped us, which was super nice. Back to the whole racism thing, it was really funny because when we first met him, he came over. He actually was here for hours, like mostly outside because it was summer when we moved here. Then he left, and then he came back to give us like some phone numbers of people for things that we may want to get done to the house, and painting, stuff like that. So he brought me a list, and within that conversation, he was like, "Oh, where are you guys from?" And we explained to him our heritage, where we're from and such. And he goes, "Oh yeah," like he just throws in the conversation, "I'm not racist at all." And to us, it was like hilarious because the fact that he felt the need to tell us that he wasn't racist was hilarious. Like, I don't know. I guess they just know that there's so many racist people here that they're like, "Oh, you're our neighbors, you're cool. Like, we're cool with you guys being, I have color to my skin, but we have every variation. Like, my kids are very, very light skin. My dad is black. He's a black Dominican. My mom is a light skinned Puerto Rican, but obviously not as light skinned as the people we're around. So you could tell that, you know, we have some melanin in us. We're not your typical all-American neighbor that they're probably used to. And it was just so funny to us that he felt the need to explain that to us. But he's nice. I haven't met the wife yet. Haven't seen her, but that's fine. We'll meet her one day. But you can see his house from our house, but it is not like right next to each other. He's like on one side, on the other side we have no neighbors. And then down the road there's like this horse farm. Everybody has chickens and goats and horses and cows, and it's just exactly what we wanted. We are so happy. I did think I was gonna get some chickens, but after doing some research and like with how much we like to travel and stuff, I'm not gonna get any. I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna try and do a garden, and the garden is not even gonna be fully done anytime soon. I think this year we're just gonna do some fruits and vegetables in grow bags. And then hopefully next year I'll get around to doing like a square foot gardening system outside. I just don't have the funds to build a whole new garden right now, and that's fine. We already got like the seeds and starters for what we want to grow in our yard this year in our grow bags, and it's mostly just like your typical tomatoes, carrots, potatoes. We were in Home Depot the other day. We picked up like a raspberry bush and some strawberries, so we're gonna attempt to do that in some grow bags. I do have like this really nice swing out hanging off a tree for the kids in the backyard. I do want to get them some more stuff for back there. It's really big. We have like 3 acres of land, so I really want to like deck it out for them. It's gonna have to be little by little. I'm not gonna be able to buy them like a whole playground right now, but I'm gonna get them like a splash pad and all the fun things. They're still young, so thankfully they are very happy with whatever they have. They did have a water table last year, but for some reason that's all broken right now. So I do need to get them a new one. I want to get them a splash pad. I want to make them like a sandbox. We already started painting some rocks. I want to make like a rock garden. I have so many ideas and not enough funds for these ideas. But yeah, I just want their childhood to be amazing. I want them to think back and like, wow, we had so much fun. Yeah. So, oh my gosh, am I putting this on the wrong one? I sure am. Ay, ay, ay. Of course I did. That's what I get for rambling so much. Let's see. That's right. Okay, I think it was just one. Okay, yeah. I caught myself before I went crazy. So yeah, basically before we moved here, you know, we were just like so delayed because the condo kept giving us such a problem. And I know the buyers were getting like really fed up with us. But when I met the father, we were like, I'm so sorry. Like, we did everything we could. I would like even show up at the, it's at a whole different place, not within the condo, at the office, and say, listen, I need this done, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah. But then they would never give me a call back. And I told him, I was like, I was working on it every day. Like, and he was like, yeah, they were getting a bit frustrated because they didn't know what they were doing, you know, waiting for this to sell for their new house. And then they were going on vacation and everything was kind of like getting screwed up for them. So I felt really bad. But honestly, we did everything we could. They just were being impossible. But everything worked out. We were able to buy the house of our dreams. They were able to move on to wherever they moved on to. I have no idea where, but hopefully they're happy wherever they are. And it's so nice because we just have all this space in the world now. Like 3 acres of land. Who would have thought? For some people, I'm sure that's, you know, the norm. For some of you, you live out in the country. But for us, it's not the norm. We came from a 2-bedroom condo to this, you know, the house itself is not huge. It's a 3-bedroom, kind of like a ranch style on the top. We do have a basement though. The house itself is not huge. Like, I definitely wish it was a little bit bigger, especially like for where we are. Because I would love, you know, a craft room. That would be nice, but maybe one day I can afford to make an extension or, you know, get a shed in the back and like hook it up to be a little office slash craft room. That would be great. But for now, we've been here, we make a year, I think in June, July. Been here for several months and we don't regret it at all. The winters are brutal because we're kind of like up on a they call it a hill, I call it a mountain. So we get a lot more snow than they do down, you know, 30 minutes away into town in the city. And that's another thing I love. I love that we're like pretty rural where we are, but within 30 minutes we can get to anything we want. If we want, you know, anything. Like, we have a huge mall, we have Target, we have Walmart, we have several Targets, a couple of different Walmarts, anything. And because my friend who lives out west, she lives in a rural area as well, but she's like 2 hours from anything like that. The only thing they really have are your regular like little mom and pop shops, supermarket, and then like Walmart. If they want anything other than Walmart, like a Target, basically anything. They have to drive like 2 hours away, even for like a Home Depot, a Lowe's, anything like that. It's an ordeal. So it was cute. They came to visit my friend and her kids a couple weeks ago, and on the way back, I'd like to make sure that they're okay and get updates. And she texts me, she's like, oh, we just got to so and so town, the kids are super excited because we're going to Five Below. Like, it's so funny because she doesn't even have like a Five Below near them, and it was like a whole ordeal, and the kids are so happy just to go to Five Below. So I'm grateful that we kind of have like that best of both worlds, where we are rural, we're really, really country, and then 30 minutes later, I can be in the middle of one of the biggest cities. So yeah, it's really cool. We're happy. When we moved here, we moved in July. Let me see how long I've been going, because okay, almost an hour. I'll give you one more story. I don't even know if this is entertaining to you guys, so let me know. I feel like I'm just rambling and not making any sense. Hopefully I am. It takes a little bit to get back in the groove of things. I had like a list of things to talk about, and I completely ignored my list and just like went into this whole other tangent of things that I wasn't even going to talk about. But yeah, we moved here in July. And in August, I signed my son up for Taekwondo because I wanted him to get into something. It's hard to find things for kids that are really young. Like, he was 3 at the time. Was he 3? No. Was he 3 or 4 already? No, I think he was still 3. I don't know. I can't think properly. I know they start at 3, the Taekwondo. And I saw an advertisement for a trial package of 2 weeks, which would be 2 classes per week, and he loved it. And I figured he would. Like, he is definitely into all of that. And he was like still too young for most sports. So I signed him up. He loved it. And now he's been doing it consistently ever since. He has gone up to his yellow belt, and he should actually, soon enough, I think he should be going for his orange belt. His yellow belt is all striped up. He has all his stripes filled on his belt. There was a promotion exam not too long ago, but it wasn't for like his time frame, because for his age group, they like it to be like about every 4 months, and that would have been like before 4 months for him to move up from when he got his yellow belt. But he's doing super well. Like, I'm really proud of him. He loves it. He focuses. He pays attention. I mean, they're kids. He's still, they're not doing anything crazy right now. But it's great because they focus on fine motor skills. They do obstacle courses. I just love that at this age they're able to do board breaking. Like, it's so cool. He gets so happy when he breaks his boards. And yeah, he loves it. His sister definitely wants to do it as well. She turned 3 in November, so unfortunately she still has some time before she can join, but she always goes with us to watch him. And I think she'll be an expert by then when she starts, because she already knows everything. Basically, like, he'll come home and he'll go crazy practicing. I was like, yeah, and kicking and punching and running and doing all the things, and she's right there with him. Like, she is a wild one. She will not be intimidated by anything or anyone. And we ask her, like, oh, do you want to do that? She's like, yeah. So I hope she doesn't like have to go up there and then she gets shy. At that point, he should still be in her group, because it's 3 to 5. 3 through 5. So he wouldn't move up until he's 6. She turns 3 in November. He turns 5 now, coming up actually in April. So they will be in the same class for a little bit. And hopefully that'll give her some reassurance if she does get a little nervous. I don't know if she will. She's like a little bit shy with other people. quite a bit shy, but she doesn't really interact with that many other people outside of us, you know. I take care of them 24/7. My mom takes care of them when I'm not able to. So she doesn't have too much experience with other people. So like if we're in the supermarket and somebody says hi, you probably won't get a hi back, honestly. But she's always been like that. She's a COVID baby too, you know. So, you know, with my son, he was 7 days old and I was already out and about doing things. With her, not so much. So we'll see how she does. I really, really hope she does enjoy it. She does warm up. It's funny because he just had a championship this past Saturday, and his teacher, Mr. Minhee, we had to, you know, we signed him up late. Long story short, he wasn't going to go, but then he was able to go. So he didn't have his boards for board breaking competition. So we had to meet up with her there, and she got them for him. And she saw my daughter. We call her Lemon. And Lemon was standing next to me, and she goes, "Give me a high five." She like bends down to like talk to her, and she wasn't having it. She didn't run away, she didn't cry, but she also was not warm and welcoming. And she sees her all the time. Like we're there twice a week, every week. So it's funny. So I'm like, I really hope you warm up because, you know, she's gonna be your master. And she's great. Like, I absolutely adore her. She is a great master. She is so good with the kids at his age level. She's, you know, we sometimes see her with the older kids, and she's obviously great with them too, but not everybody can work with little ones. And she is so good at encouraging them, keeping them on track, but keeping it fun as well, making them want to go back. And sometimes, like my son will be acting up or something, and if I can't reel him in, like, okay, next time I see Master Minnie, I'm gonna tell her. And he's like, no. And then he'll be like, okay, I'll do, you know, I'll brush my teeth or something. And what I really like is that they do really emphasize that it's not just about, you know, how you behave in the dojo. Like every month they have this character sheet that needs to be filled out, and it shows things that they're doing well at home. Like he's not in school yet, but you know how they're doing in school. You know what they want them to read, and they have to list how many books they've read, what books they've read, and every day, you know, after class, but before they get their stripes, or like right after, she will say, you know, you guys did great, but I want to make sure you guys are doing this at home as well. You know, if mom and dad says clean your room, I want you to do it on the first time, not, you know, the same way you do it here. I don't want to hear that you're not doing what you have to do at home. And then when they get older, I think if their report cards are good, sorry, I'm just looking for my next color, they get like a special star in their uniform. So it's like a lot of good motivation, a lot of good discipline that they get from this program. So hopefully she likes it as well. And it would be ideal because then they're both in the same activity and I don't have to like run between two different places. Hopefully that doesn't sound selfish of me, and I don't care. Like if she wanted to do something else, a different activity, then you know we'll try it, but I just don't want it to conflict. Like, oh, they both have to be at practice at this time on the same day, same time, same day. Like that would be a little difficult because I like to show my face. I want my kids to always see that I'm there for them at their events, at the things that they care about. So, like very few times do I send him with somebody else to, you know, alone to Taekwondo. I like to be there. When I'm there, I'm not on my phone. I'm not, you know, paying attention to 50 million other things. I always try to make sure I'm sitting in that first row and he knows that I'm watching him. You know, I remember one time, I actually think, did I not? go, no, I think I was in the car because I wasn't feeling well or something. And my mom went inside to watch him, and she was like, the whole time he kept looking over and like gesturing, like, where's mom? Where's mom? I was like, oh, I feel so bad. So, you know, it means a lot to him. And I know it would mean a lot to her too, because they just, you know, they were their parents. They want to show us, hey, look what I'm doing. I did well. Like, are you proud of me? Kind of thing. You know, whenever he gets his special stripes on his belt, he's just ecstatic. He comes out of the mat running and just like shows me, like, oh my god, look what I got. And it's the best. Like, you just want your kids to be happy and feel special, and that's what they do there. So I'm really happy about that. And I hope my daughter likes it too. It's just a shame she has to wait until November. But yeah. And on that note, I think I'm going to stop there because it's been almost an hour. And I've been talking so much. I can keep going on and on, apparently. I didn't know I was able to talk so much until I started doing these WIP and Chats. I'm not usually like a huge talker at home or, you know, in general. So I'm more of a listener kind of person. So it's kind of interesting to see that I'm able to ramble and ramble. And hopefully I'm making sense to you guys. So I still have a little bit more. I'm probably going to finish this up now off camera. I just have a little bit there, some here. I'm going to finish up her eye. Ideally, I would like to get her done before Easter. So we'll see, because I, you know, have to take my son to Taekwondo later today. And, you know, other things have to get done. So this is what I'm working on. And then after I do her, I think I'm going to work on 2 WIPs. One is already kitted up, and that's actually Super Pets, which my son loves that movie. I just put it on for him again the other day. I was going to surprise him with it, but he saw the box, so he knows. He's like, oh, it's like diamonds. This one is mine. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it for you. It's huge, though. It's probably the biggest canvas I'm going to work on to date. And then after that, I have one that I would like to kit up for my daughter that I just got in, which is Spring Blossom from DAC. Super Pets is also from DAC. And I think I'm going to work on those simultaneously because I want to present it to them around the same time. It's going to take a while though because it's big. I haven't unboxed Spring Blossom yet. Maybe I'll do an unboxing for the channel. But she's gorgeous. I've seen somebody has been working on her on Instagram, and it's so pretty. So I'm gonna put those up in their room for them. And yeah, I guess those probably the only 2 I'm gonna work on, unless I have like a small one for traveling, or, you know, keeping on this small desk that I have in my room so I can just work on in between the big ones to give me a break. And other than that, I am so happy to be back. I hope you guys enjoyed my WIP and Chat, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.